All right, it was last month when Buffalo's acting Mayor Chris Scanlon introduced his $110 million capital improvement plan. The plan is aimed at upgrading streets, sidewalks, and buildings across the city. But Scanlon's plan also has drawn some criticism from the city's comptroller, who raised concerns about the city's fiscal health. She warned the proposed borrowing could push the city beyond its debt cap. The proposal requires approval from the Common Council before it can move forward, and that approval came during today's council meeting. So joining me now to talk through all this, Common Council member Mitch Nowakowski of the Fillmore District, also the chair of the Common Council's Finance Committee. Thank you for joining us here tonight.
Thanks for having me.
So we talked about those concerns from the comptroller. Is this fiscally responsible to go through with this plan, and if so, why?
It is, so I'll explain. So I like to put this down in three parts. So the first is the regular capital budget that's set at $27 million per the charter so far for us to pass before the 15th. And that's going to well-needed projects like infrastructure, street sidewalks, lighting. $2.5 million is going to go to new fire apparatuses that we saw that we needed post-blizzard to get into our inventory. And then we're borrowing $55 million for the Buffalo Public Schools because we are the bonding authority for them. They can't do it themselves, so we have to do it, and it's 100% reimbursable for the $55 million that we're doing it for them. And then whatever else might cost in interest, they're actually going to have the budget allotment to pay for it. And then the next is a thing called bonds. They're short-term bonds for $24 million that will only cost right now $900,000 to take out, to then leverage hundreds of thousands of dollars in infrastructure work like cars on Main Street, Jefferson, large infrastructure projects that are state funded, that the state and federal government are saying, hey city, you actually have to chip in for something to get these projects done. And people want to see work done. They want to see shovels in the ground, and we have to get this done.
Yeah, this is the first step kind of in leading to seeing those promises fulfilled from so many years ago. And this was passed with amendments. What were some of those amendments that were made?
So some of the amendments are very specific to local districts. So mine was another thing where I needed $900,000 to go towards Marine Drive, where it's a huge state infrastructure project that's going to get done, but the city had to chip something in. But ultimately, community centers in councilmatic districts will be done, and very targeted things will be done in those districts. And that's why I really wanted people to know is that the capital budget was passed, but there was an amended budget because the Common Council has the power to amend budgets.
Yeah. So what's the next step directly after this?
So now in the spring, there's a thing called that we can authorize an issue or authorize an unissue. So say these projects that we authorize for the ban to be done, if they're shovel ready, we can issue the bond. If they're not, we can hold off. And we can also stagger the amount of money to make sure that there's very minimal, if at all, fiscal implications to the city's budget.
Gotcha. I want to switch gears really quickly. I want to ask you about the Bray Miller Market situation. Last week we learned the only grocery store in downtown Buffalo is shutting down. This only compounds the food desert situation the city is facing. So where does the city go from here with this situation?
So here's how I feel, because I know it came under increased scrutiny. That money was to rescue workers, and so that kept 36 workers working at Bray Miller for over a year and a half. And I know that the city is talking with Stewart, who is the owner, who owns that building, who I'm sure has a mortgage on that building. And I want to see its highest and best use to be a grocery store. So I'm going to work really hard to see what we can come up with, because not only is it downtown's only grocery store, let's think about it. Marine Drive is going to be completely redone. That's in close proximity. Now Commodore Perry, a huge structure that's going to be putting in hundreds, if not thousands of people in close proximity. We need to get a grocery store down there, and we need to find someone who can do it.
Right. There's a lot of things planned. A lot of this important to a lot of people. Councilmember Mitch Nowakowski, thank you so much for joining us here on Voices.